Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Akash Weekly Twitter Spaces. I'm Nadia Bajuelo, Community Events Manager here at Overclock Labs. I hope everyone here now, listening or watching later, is having a great morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you're joining from. Before we dive into our spaces today, I do want to take a moment to thank you guys for being a part of the Akash community. Let's get started with today's spaces. Greg will kick us off with updates. It was a busy week with exciting announcements and lots happening on the partnership front. After updates, we'll give you guys a full introduction to our guest, KauriHero, project lead and co-founder at MASQ Network. Also, he's been amazing. Guys, he has woken up at a crazy hour of the morning to be here with us today. During our guest segment, we'll be asking Kauri about MASQ, their roadmap, their unique approach to fundraising, and their experience with Akash. Then I have a question for both Kauri and Greg on Web3 adoption, and we'll wrap up with an AMA with Greg and our guest. We'll meet KauriHero just after updates, but for right now, let's hand it off to the man of the hour and CEO of Overclock Labs, Greg Osuri. Take it away, Greg.
Thanks so much, Nadia. Wow, what a week has it been for Akash community. I mean, the biggest news is we have a U.S. Department of Defense website, one of the websites running on Akash. And it happened because one of our community members that we love and adore, Anthony Rosa, who also runs the Altry Motors, the Multi Audits, the name for Akash and a validator. He's been an Akash, user, community member for a very long time. He's been a developer. He introduced him and a bunch of airmen and guardians from the Space Force introduced the idea of using decentralized infrastructure for securing U.S. Army and U.S. military assets, right? And obviously, the technology resonated with the judges. I think it was a lieutenant general level who really got excited of the fact that they can reduce dependency on centralized closed systems and open decentralized systems as a viable alternative. So this is amazing because we anticipated this level of involvement long time ago. We've been arguing the fact that open technologies are the future because they, reduce reliance. Like think about how much of money and time investment goes into Amazon's really centralized systems that have a lot of control and more often than not become choke points for combat operations or anything strategically important. It's important for our government to operate without reliance on closed technologies, right? So this is a very, very important step. And most importantly, it happened from a community member. And this is exactly why we focus so much on developers in the early stages and enabling developers so developers can then apply the technologies that we build in the way that they see fit in different environments. And this is the kind of network effects we talk about for Web3 that are bound to go up, right? So the most important thing from a project standpoint is for us to keep building, keep shipping features, keep improving the system in a manner that it opens up a lot more use cases as such, right? And before you know it, the decentralization is going to be in the center stage. And really cool to see how, and the categories this award was given was the most interesting thing category was I think it's called most tactically relevant for cyber operation, right? So it clearly shows that Secret Network, which is our phenomenal network, another Cosmos chain, a privacy preserving chain, it was used in conjunction with Akash Network, right? A fully sovereign cloud platform with a privacy preserving technology. Um, and really good news is coming. We have Mainnet 4 that's coming very, very soon. We'll be announcing the dates probably in a week. Mainnet 4 will have interchain accounts. This has been a feature that's been requested quite a lot by a community. And what that means is it'll enable secret network to deploy directly from secret onto Akash using a secret account. So that takes privacy preserving capability to the next level with sovereign deployments, right? So I've been teasing the community about secret deployments, and that's coming in maybe in 3 weeks, right? So Mainnet 4 will have interchain accounts, it'll have IP leasing, and also have provider client 2.0, which is a much improved, much stable provider client for Akash. So keep an eye out. The tech is getting better and better, and we will have interchain accounts in testnet maybe end of the week. So you're going to see a sort of you're going to see quite a lot of integrations with Juno and Secret before it goes to mainnet. So once we go mainnet 4, we'll have a lot of exciting integrations already in play. It's going to be a lot of build for Akash Network with all these amazing features coming very, very shortly. So I'm super excited. It's been such an incredible week. And I mean, moving on to other amazing things we saw a new ecosystem partner, Buy23, which is a validated. They moved their website to Akash. We're very, very amazing to see Cosmos ecosystem slowly, one by one, moving to Akash. I mean, at this time, I think we are pretty much, if you count like market share by the number of participants using Akash and Cosmos, I think we have pretty deep penetration. We're going to do a small study. We're going to analyze all the players, both be it validators, be it project websites, be it anybody that has to do with Cosmos, and how many of them are actually using Akash. I think the number is pretty high in terms of percentage. So we'll do that study very soon, but I'm really excited. Every time I see a validator moving their infrastructure to Akash, that's an amazing sign for Akash. So welcome Buy23, and reach out to us if you have any questions. And Leap Cosmos, which is a new wallet, introduced the integration into Akash. Another protocol client, another option for Akash AKT holders and AKT operators. Leap is definitely taking its place in the Cosmos ecosystem. It's making a lot of noise. People seem to be excited about Leap, so them integrating Akash is a really good news for us. Um, and Chia posted a blog about recently talking about Akash and how they're actually using Akash and how Akash, helping Chia be more decentralized. It's really good news. I mean, Chia, and they're talking about Akash in their blog, always is works out really good because pe other people discover. And Chia is also very, very exciting. I mean, the more I learn about Chia, the more I get excited. I think they're trying to solve the no stake problem. The no stake problem in proof of stake systems, which is kind of very interesting and one of the most prominent attack vectors where where validators could get very powerful and start like spinning off their own chains, which is not a non-zero possibility. I think Chia is trying to solve that. If you want to learn more about how Chia or if is trying to do that, check out David Tsai. David Tsai is a Stanford professor who's the founder of Babylon Chain, his podcast on zero knowledge. It's very exciting things what Chia Network is doing. I think Akash is bridging the gap, bringing Chia to Cosmos first by helping them get more decentralized by lowering the cost of operations of participation in Chia Network itself, and hopefully, I think with lots of stuff happening in the IBC space, hopefully we will be able to interoperate with Chia. Chia is very exciting, interesting model. I think I'm also very excited about the fact that it is founded by Bram Cohen. Bram Cohen founded BitTorrent, and he's extremely very, very smart guy. We see a lot more of Chia action happening. Shimpa, our community member, deployed like paid $41 for 430 Chia plots. That's amazing. That's like less than 1 cent, less than 10 cents a plot, right? I mean, I don't know how long this is going to go on. This amazing, like, discounts, but hey, take leverage this as long as we have compute. There seems to be quite a lot of like, uh, you know, uh, quite a lot of like opportunity here. I think if you're in Chia Minor, please check out Akash. It's a no-brainer. Uh, and we don't know how long this is going to last. So because Akash is open marketplace, but getting there, we saw quite a lot of in Akash. Like there's a lot of education and a lot of training comes beyond Akash. Now, Speron, which I've been talking about quite a lot recently, which is a protocol client, started doing technical workshops all over India, and they announced, and this weekend they did one in Hyderabad, which is actually my hometown, kind of the hometown next to where I grew up. So it's really exciting to see penetration there. Speron did this amazing workshop. We had Alani from our team do a remote presence there. It was a packed house. I think India is crazy. I think a lot of the success for Solana ecosystem came from India, and India is this very incredible, developer community. For us to be able to tap onto this community without our physical presence there, it's our communities, it's our ecosystem that's actually enhancing our presence. Love seeing stuff like this. I think more. I love to see more ecosystem participation in improving education for Akash and getting people to a workshop where you can learn about Akash through a walkthrough. Workshops are incredibly amazing. I learned a lot of technologies through workshops. I really like them. So seeing our partners like Speron do these workshops is amazing. Uh, with that, I think we have I mean, one more thing. I was invited to speak on Messari's Twitter Spaces. For those of you that don't know what Messari is, it is one of the most respected uh, analysts in crypto. It is called the Bloomberg of crypto. So Messari has deep integration with Bloomberg terminals. Everything that happens on Messari ends up in the Bloomberg terminal. And I was invited to speak on their spaces this Friday about decentralization at the base layer and censorship attacks. As we know, crypto right now is on a major assault by censorship as well as outright banning. We saw what Hetzner did, and talking about Hetzner, we introduced a program to invite people that were affected by Hetzner's ban onto Akash, and we sold out the spots. We are offering them free hosting. I think we'll still keep offering. If you are on Hetzner, if you Hetzner banned you, if you want to deploy, please come talk to us. We'll set you up with a free account to get started on Akash. But that said, like I'm going to go on talking about why decentralization is important. Hetzner in the cloud basically is a kill switch. And we were doing some analysis yesterday about actual cost of like centralization, and it's just beyond just running decentralized networks. I realize, I mean, A16Z Anderson Horowitz has a blog post out there that talks about cost of cloud, the true cost of cloud. Turns out 50% of all the cloud services we use, like Notion, like Asana, like Netflix, like name it, right? From the time we wake up to the time we sleep, we interact with a computer, with a cloud. So every service that we use, 50% on an average of the costs, of the margins actually goes to the big cloud, to the cloud providers. It's incredible. So half of every dollar we pay to cloud services, all of us, goes to Uncle Jeff, which is incredible if you think about the rent-seeking model that was created, the invisible rent seeker, that we all don't realize how big and how important the cloud plays in our everyday lives, right? 50% of all our costs that we spend online on services goes to the cloud. So decentralization is not only important to ensure that to ensure that we have a censorship resistant sovereign network, but also just reduce the cost of the globe, especially when times are difficult in these tumultuous high inflation times, right? So, and Akash is delivering, right? I mean, Akash is good enough for a US Department of Defense website, I think Akash is good enough for a lot of folks, right? So these proof points are proving the fact that we have a viable technology that is secure, that is ready, that's growing. And then we have this bigger problem, which is the centralization of the cloud. That is, that outright can decide one day to ban decentralization, right? And we're in a very critical juncture right now. And so the another amazing thing about a government, especially U.S. DoD, which is, I think, the purest form of government, right? Out of all the agencies, I respect the defense forces. I respect the military because they're purists. They don't care about anything else except protection, our protection. And them really looking at technology and putting a stamp is such an amazing feature. And if any department, if any branch of government would use, I would prefer the U.S. military as a first user of Akash, right? So when you have like these amazing, proof points, and while we have like government also banning crypto, I think it's very important for us to showcase these important proof points so that overall policy will take into consideration that the decentralization technologies are used to for a lot better purposes than illicit purposes. So I'll be talking about a lot of that in this Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. I think it's 10:30 p.m. Pacific. So join me on Messari's minute. Talking about Messari, I'm going to be speaking next week in New York at the Messari Mainnet event. So if you are around New York City, hit me up. There may or may not be a party. We don't know, but hit me up. Maybe we can get together if I'm when you're in New York. So with that, I'm excited to welcome our new ecosystem partner, MASQ. And Nadia.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, what a great week full of exciting announcements. So, guys, our special guest today is KauriHero, project lead and co founder at MASQ Network. KauriHero has spent over a decade running high performance teams in several industries, including finance, supply chain, logistics, project management, technical sales, and network development. With over 12 years of business management experience coupled with a technical career background in industrial engineering, his high level coordination, understanding of technical nuances, and strategic execution is a key component that drives success in Web3 privacy designed applications, and distributed network technologies. Kauri holds degrees in industrial systems engineering, sales engineering, and business management. He lives with his family in New Zealand, enjoying the outdoors and beautiful landscapes, camping, speaking with business groups, and networking with enthusiasts around privacy and internet freedom. Kauri, welcome. Aside from us dragging you out of bed at 3 a.m. on a cold New Zealand winter morning, how are you today?
Well, I didn't actually get out of bed. I decided to stay up and just get ready and prime myself. So I'm good. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oof, all right. Well, thank you for doing that. Hope you had lots of coffee. All right. So, Kauri, can you please give us an overview of MASQ? What do you guys do and why do you do it?
Absolutely. So at MASQ, our vision is to deliver a user-first Web3 browser experience with privacy as a design. We've coined this borderless browsing. So we've made the MASQ app, and so it's easy to use. It's got a beautiful interface, fun to navigate, packed with features that Web 2 or Web3 natives will enjoy using every day. And yes, it's powered through peer-to-peer payments with crypto, without the need for subscriptions, credit cards, or personal accounts. And I know you asked, why do we do it? So that's super important. I mean, why we're building this is equally important for us at MASQ as well. Because speaking personally, I don't like the idea of a future where big data corporations and governments know everything that you do. They control what you see and read online. They can inspect what you spend money on, hint, hint, CBDCs on the horizon, and even restrict what you can chat about with your friends and family. So even Greg just touched on things like the centralized gatekeepers. These freedoms are slowly, being eroded right in front of us. Or we're in a situation where a lot of our personal information is being monetized and sold to the highest bidder, and there's no regard or much less regard for user privacy. Man, Greg really is on the same mental riffs as me. We also believe at MASQ that censorship is wrong, especially in the digital information space. It is a form of human discrimination. So we are building this to be anti-censorship or censorship resistant. There are lots of tools out there to help break out from stronger regions facing censorship in the world. But these tools are not always effective, and users can face major consequences for using them. So at MASQ, we believe all people have the right to speak their truth online, watch and access what they want, and most importantly, access the content that's hosted in a place like the UK or USA from places like China, Russia, and other repressed countries. That's all a critical part of why the Web3 movement, is really so important for the future of the digital landscape. Because if users own the content, and I really like the graphic that A16Z put out and I think it was from possibly Gavin Wood, but Web 1 was read, Web 2 was read and write, and Web 3 is read, write, and own. But here we have the chance in Web 3 for users to not only own the content, but own the infrastructure. And that's pointing right at Akash, and that's pointing right at MASQ. That we have a chance to truly control our personal information, preserve our freedoms, and interact without borders. So on to what MASQ actually does to achieve it. I've made some mental notes not to go really deep into the tech today. I want to reach, all different technical-minded people and not so technical-minded people. Here's how I've summed it up, not just coming up with this at 3 a.m. If VPN and Tor had a baby, you could name it MASQ. So basically, we've combined the proven concepts of both those technologies, packaged it into a software, so it's allowing users to connect from around the world anonymously and safely transport content across each other into a curated Web3 browser. So that's why we're calling it Web3 browsing. And the technology also allows no single user to know who or where the other users in the network are, not even our MASQ team. So, we don't know where all the nodes and users are being run, and we don't know, how often they're on and off. So it's really privacy is the design. And importantly, lots of people in the Akash community, they're sharing their computing resources, and it's incentivized. So same thing at MASQ, we've incentivized users to share their bandwidth across the MASQ network. And as serving users earn MASQ, browsing users on the other side will pay MASQ as they click in their browser to use the software. And what's even cooler is, as a MASQ user, if your bandwidth is reasonable, you can actually serve and earn it in the same software at the same time. So you might just be doing, browsing it to your heart's delight for no cost because, you're sharing your bandwidth as well. So yeah, we've built a way to take control and, importantly, share your digital freedoms from around the world while creating a pathway into Web3, but without just slapping that Web3 buzzword on a crypto project and saying, hey, everyone, we're part of it. We've built it, and we've actually proven it works.
Thanks, Kauri. Thank you for that overview. Borderless browsing, love that, and couldn't agree with you more. You've touched a little bit on this, I think, but could you walk us through your roadmap and tell us where you are on your roadmap today and what you're working on right now?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we've come a long way from very humble beginnings too, but I think we've got a good history now. We've accomplished some major milestones, but we operate a little differently at MASQ. We've got a more holistic roadmap approach. We use milestone features and scaling the user network more as the roadmap to showcase our progress as a project. Very much under promise, over deliver type of approach. But some of the major milestones that we have achieved was, most importantly, we've proven the software works. We've got real people using it now. We've got a refined Web3 browser app. It works on Windows, Mac. We squashed all the Mac gremlins. I better not jinx it, but that was a mission with the M1 chipset as well, for those who love their M1s and the latest stuff. And it works on Linux too. We've shipped it for Linux and have just last week achieved a new all-time record of over 100 active users online at the same time. So for us, that's a big deal. It's the most we've ever done. These are real users, real members of our community, and you can check out the live feedback every day in our Discord, because pretty much every day the testers and real people are like testing it and commenting and showing screenshots and stuff. Nadia, can I give a Discord plug for our Discord if they want to join?
Of course. Yeah, that's what we're here for. Go for it. Yeah, how can we learn more?
Nice. Okay, well, hop in and join. It's discord.gg/MASQ. So that's MASQ. The app is in closed beta. We are onboarding users slowly through promotions. We've put out some new bounties, more to come, and partnerships. And that said, I'm real excited about this collaboration with Akash. The more I learn about it, the more excited I am. So we've got a little like flash promo now I want to put out there. Go ahead and hop into our Discord now. Jump in the general channel, type in "I want MASQ beta," and me and the moderators will pick 3 of you to join pretty much straight away. You can get that software, you can try it out, and you can share with everyone, how it is, how it works. Yeah, there's a few bugs here and there, have an open mind, but it is working pretty cool. And so that's a way for some of you to get involved straight away.
So, Kauri, I've got a question for you before we jump into your experience with Akash and a little bit more about that.
Sure.
One thing that really stands out about MASQ is your approach to fundraising. What inspired you guys to forego traditional fundraising or the ICO route that's so common in the crypto space?
Yeah, that's a real interesting question. Because it's certainly quite unique to the space to not have formal funding, like most projects, they go through the typical ICO, private investor, VC rounds, or private sales. So, there's 2 main things that come to mind. The first was that our founders at the time, we all agreed there were so many projects and some similar ones in our tech space that were just acting really unprofessionally with public funds, with ICO funds. We thought it would be like in horrible taste to try and ask the public to support us, without even having our working product refined and a real user experience. So we decided to forego that and instead do more of a distributed approach where we airdropped a community of people and did it that way. So it was actually very experimental time, and we're still here almost 3 years later. So that's pretty amazing. The second thing was whenever you do, and a lot of founders will probably attest to this, if you ever do a token sale or private rounds or VC funding, you do become beholden to those that basically gave you money. And it can be very disruptive to your development and growth, especially in the world of software development. Projects, you could have problems that exist for many months. And we've all seen projects live and die on FUD and bad PR, and it can get fueled easily by token holders who may feel like they didn't get, led down the right track, or if it is a real good project, like the white paper and a fancy website was what they thought the next big thing was coming. So overall, we wanted to give it a push from a grassroots level with a small group of loyal supporters who donated ETH to us to fund us an airdrop we did, and eventually an LP pool from an old friend who started a decentralized exchange in the Link ecosystem. And the rest is history. Now we're still moving along, and some of our best and most important contributors are from the community, including some of our developers. So we're really proud of that as well.
Very cool. So, Kauri, tell us, how did you first hear about Akash?
Yeah, you guys are you're getting well known. To be honest, I was watching some of your stuff since October last year, along a few similar projects that had tried to approach the space with decentralized cloud computing. But I really like the brand and just the fact that you got this really good cadence to your growth and development and consistent marketing with a consistent ecosystem message. And the fact that you're well supported with your developers in an active community. So, hats off to all of you guys in the team, guys and girls, for working hard and getting to this point. And congrats on all those amazing updates from you, Greg, this week. That's really cool to hear.
Thank you. So, how has your experience with Akash been so far? What are your plans from here? And what can Akash do to help support and scale what you're working on?
Yeah, good question. I mean, there's so much possibility. But to be fully transparent, we're early in the stages of integrating the Akash tech on scale. We have tried it out, and we have some of our devs who've experimented with it. And the good news is we've deployed the MASQ software in Akash using CloudMos, which was awesome. So it's great to do that so far. We've got the steps documented and just working through those and just looking at efficient ways to, allow that to be out to the public, to scale it a bit. We've also, for those who are technical, we've made and refined a Docker image for the MASQ software, and leveraging some technology from Terraform. So us being really technical, we loved the fact that on your Discord, I saw, wow, they've got a Terraform module. So we've got some of that in the works as well to take advantage of that scripted deployment that can be done on scale. And for those who aren't technical, this means we're essentially going to have a way to, if you want to spin up 2 or 20 MASQ servers with these tools, you'll be able to. So our plans from here are to keep refining it, beta test with it. Super excited for the IP leasing feature because that's going to be critical for this to work well on scale and make it public. Hopefully in the MASQ, in the Akash app marketplace, we'll have MASQ there, and let the community have some fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, I've got one last question for you, Kauri, but Greg, here, I'd also like you to weigh in on this, as you and Anil will be touching on some of this at Messari Mainnet next week. So, Kauri, for you, one thing that sets MASQ apart is your approach to software development. Can you tell us more about your user-first approach to software development and how you think clean, intuitive tools will impact the adoption of Web3?
Yeah, that's probably the most important question of today. I mean, MASQ is great, but hey, that's actually really important because we're all builders and most of us here. So, I mean, to be honest, when you're dealing with such complex and technical product solutions, something like MASQ, for example, it's easy to forget that it's got to be simple to use. Like in our team, we joke all the time, hey, if grandma can use MASQ, we've won the Web3 internet, right? And we laugh about it, but it's serious. It has to be that simple, or else you almost can't break out of that niche that you might be in and hit critical mass, So this aspect isn't just unique to MASQ, it's unique to lots of projects, especially things that are fundamentally rooted in decentralization, right? Because you have to almost beat out the centralized crowd, because the more decentralized you are, the more powerful it is. But that is totally dependent on scale. So, yeah, we've understood that without users, Web3 is just going to be a concept. It relies on users to host, to own the content, to traverse the levels of interaction between infrastructure and applications. So, mass adoption is going to take a lot of time. And you can relate it quite well to the way people use money every day, right? And comparing it to crypto, like for a lot of people, crypto is still quite confusing. It's techie, multi-chain, software wallets, seed words, private keys. It's enough to get the people a bit crazy. They get scared off. But if you focus on the user experience first instead of the tech, you get people having a pleasant experience going in. They can use your product quickly and in a more scaled way. And that means when your product is out of quality assurance, your go-to market strategy can be fast and effective. And that's really what we've been working hard on literally for years now on top of our software underlying tech is getting the actual onboarding and new user experience to be smooth. It was so important for us because if someone can't use our software in a few minutes, they're not going to stick around. Let's be fair, especially when we're rooting it in a browser sort of solution. And real quick, a funny story. We recently had a community member go from install to browsing, and he used a stopwatch to time it. He did it under in 1 minute, 30 seconds. What I thought was funny is his name is Chicken, just Chicken in Discord. So now we can ask him how long it takes a chicken to cross the MASQ network. For him, it was 1 minute, 26 seconds. So I thought that was pretty funny.
It sure is. And Greg, so Akash began with the desire to make a developer's life easy. How do you think the current developer experience of Web3 tools is impacting decentralization and Web3 adoption?
Oh, so is that a question for me?
Yeah.
Oh, that was busy digesting. How is
I'm the
the?
ones who's supposed to be sleeping.
I wasn't talking, but hey, I really like the emphasis on user experience. Like, I think one of our Zach Horn, if you're in the call, I mean, he deployed. He's our content manager at Akash Network, core team at Overclock Labs, and he was able to deploy a a website using Akash, using Cloud Moss on Akash within 60 seconds. So I think that's a milestone right there. Um, and we beat you by 30 seconds. Um, I so the experience of deploying on decentralized network is not great right now. It's even though you're able to do simple things like deploying websites in 60 seconds, but to do complex stuff, it's not that easy, right? And I think all of us are, getting to that point, of easiness. And easiness is not just about reducing the number of steps or improving your education or improving how your product is visualized, but also like really thinking deeply as to how systems interact, right? The interaction, like how does a secret network interact with Akash, right? How does interoperability experience going to look like? How is the whole 9 yards of like, hey, we are in this like token economy, right? So how are people, first of all, going to change the behavior from using credit cards to using tokens? There are lots of, complicated problems. And on top of that, engagement, right? How are people going to be engaged when we don't have an email address we can contact, when we can't send a notification? How are we going to look at acquisition with lack of this basic infrastructure that Web2 is used to, right? So a lot of user experience just goes beyond uh, just adding visuals or making it easy to click, but really I think like it's about designing these desirable developer experiences, right? So on that front, I think Web3 has perhaps the best opportunity to redefine how developers and use and I mean just look at open source systems because it has a network component to it, right? So the big difference between the open systems that are prominent so far versus Web3 is that Web3 comes with functionality, whereas open systems don't come with functionality. For example, like if I were to uh, if I were to use something like Docker, right? So I can go download Docker, I can run Docker locally. I mean, it works, but the real power of Docker is not running locally, but it's really running on a cloud. When you have to deploy the Docker container on a cloud, you have to go to a different system, right? Whereas, with something like Web3, even though you use an open source software, it comes with a network capability where you can fully realize the power of the software, right? So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of interoperability, in terms of developer experience design. We're getting there, and we're not going to get there by ourselves. And the beautiful thing about Web3 is this ecosystem of development. Like someone like CloudMoss can build on top of Akash without needing permission from the core team that built Akash in the first place, right? And with the guarantee that this API is going to be around even without Overclock Labs going away as the company that created Akash Network, the confidence it gives to developers goes a long way because we all know what happened in the Web2 era, especially during like the open web. The promise of Web2, which really started off with a very positive note with all APIs being open, Twitter API being open, Facebook API being open, and inviting a lot of people to build on top of their platforms. But the moment they got success, these platforms became super closed. The Twitter shut down all the APIs, right? So I remember having a little Twitter program that got shut down because some one day Twitter just woke up and decided not to give me API access. So all the hundreds of hours of work I put into building this app around Twitter was gone, right? You don't have the problem in Web3. And it's very, very important as a developer to have that, especially someone has been through the trauma of like, trusting a platform that's going to give me permissionless access and suddenly waking up one day and realizing that access is gone, right? So we don't have the problem in Web3, and that is going to be the center piece of why Web3 is going to be successful. And if we can improve the developer experience, especially around interoperability, I think this is going to go places where Web2 has not even can't even come close. So I'm very, very confident on where we're going. And news like this, like DoD and stuff like this is just another like little milestones we count on the way. But we have a long way to go, and we're going there very, very fast.
Guys, with that, let's open up our AMA with questions for Greg and Kauri. We have Sefi here requesting to speak. Sefi, while I bring you up, let me go ahead and get started with a question for Kauri, then we'll jump to you. Greg, we have some questions for you from Jan Papa J. So, Kauri, we have a person on Telegram who has written in, isn't this something similar that Sentinel is doing with their DVPN and decentralized nodes? That was their question.
Sure. I was waiting for, fellow projects in the similar niche to be mentioned. And of course, there's plenty of room for all of us because most of them are unique. So, to answer that in terms of Sentinel's tech, I mean, we've taken it and abstracted it even further. So we're not using a single VPN point-to-point connection for all of the users' traffic. We're actually hopping it like Tor across 3 other users to get the content. So while both have merit, both 2 different approaches to provide a similar outcome, ours is a lot more robust and there's no central point of failure. So we've sort of built it, and I didn't use this technical term in our chat, but we refer to our network as a mesh network because there's many points that are interconnected within our network. So hopefully that answers the question. We're still, generally decentralized in the same way, but users are interconnected with many nodes as opposed to just one.
Thank you. Sefi, go ahead with your question. Arnold, we see you. We'll get you set up right after a question from John Papa J for Greg after Sefi. Sefi, go for it.
Yeah, good morning, guys, or whatever it is for New Zealand. I think this is a good segue to my question. Mine was actually related to like Brave browser. Maybe you could compare and contrast sort of like what they do compared to what you're creating as well. Because I think right now people have options like, using a VPN service and then maybe using a browser. They have options like Sentinel, which is kind of like this a slightly different VPN type service that you kind of compared to. Yeah, maybe how is your browser different than Brave, and why might people want to consider this instead of that?
Yeah, good question too, because there's so many unique projects out there, and I think Brave, they started out with amazing. Like I followed them for so many years, and I was excited to see some of the things they were experimenting with, and their sort of core, in my mind, their sort of core approach was to give the power of advertising back to the users themselves, right? So the whole incentive at the beginning was, you don't get ads if you don't want them, but if you watch them, you can get monetized rewards, right? And then, that was a big fundamental piece of it. And then they had Brave reward partners who would put ads on their sites and also earn. So it was kind of like an advertising ecosystem too. And so that's all well and good. Ours is sort of more like no frills, where we've taken away ads. So we've actually got a built-in ad blocker, but we're firmly focused on making Web3 native type of features. So someone who first uses our browser is not even going to realize that almost the entire stack from network to software is decentralized in some way. So, for example, you're routing your traffic through several other users. That's decentralized. You're going to fetch a dApp store that we've built in through a GitHub repo, which is content curated by the community with different partners. So those sort of user features are a bit decentralized too. Your blockchain services will go through hopefully some other partners we're looking at, but that would be in a decentralized way, not just to Infura. So if Infura decides to shut down, you're not blocked from doing crypto stuff. And also you're enjoying the privacy through a decentralized way, multiple hops and those sort of things. So we're sort of like trying to embrace and become a really embodiment of the Web3 aspect. And what we're hoping too is we'll attract developers who want to build on our technology and make even cooler stuff and plugins and all sorts of things that will really leverage how we can operate on the network protocol layer. So hopefully that answers some of your question.
Yeah, it does. From a safety perspective, like, you guys are what, Chromium based, or what is the browser tech involved here?
Yeah, it's Chromium based. We fetch from the public repo and we deploy in Electron. So every time we do a build or send an over-the-air update, we're getting the latest updates for users, because obviously security's got to be paramount, especially if you're doing anything with privacy as a fundamental part of your technology. So that's absolutely top of the list for us when determining using things as safely as possible. And it also lets us build on top of that in a more open source way. So we managed to get MetaMask to work natively. Like, it's not like we've had to fork them and adapt their software. We're using a Chrome extension for MetaMask, which also opens up an opportunity to use other extensions, other wallets, other ecosystems, tech, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how we've deployed that.
So Greg, as a preview of next week, we'll be at Messari, but guys, we will still be coming to talk with you next Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific. As always, Greg will have updates. We'll have our partner Spheron on the show. And then Greg and our CFO Chang will be talking token unlock. Greg, the question this week is from John Papa J. You're having another vesting unlocking coming. How many tokens are unlocking? Who are the VCs, and what sell action is the core team expecting? Arnold will get you set up as Greg answers this question.
Great. And before I get there, I think what Cepho, and very important point, like, how is security, right? Like, so a big problem today with open source software is the supply chain, right? There is, if the supply chain, that means the production of the code to the delivery of the code, if that's not secure, there could be opportunities for people to insert malicious code, right? And we saw that happen quite a lot. And so Kauru, what are you guys doing to ensure that there are no supply chain attacks?
Yeah, it's a very good point too, because that does happen in some avenues nowadays, especially when things are open and people just, developers might not have like a robust way to check or have, code contamination from things. So we do have a pretty robust QA process as well. But on the technical level, what's important to note is this software we've built, it's the UI and the app we're shipping that people are using. That's an abstraction on top of our core software. So really, you could run a bare bones MASQ user node with just the binaries that are shipped officially from us with no UI. You can run it from the command line, and you can open up the settings for your network on your machine and enjoy the same technology without a nice looking user interface. So, if anything was compromised with that, we would, not that it would be, but if anything was compromised with the app, we could still run the software, run completely securely from our shipped binaries with the open source code base, which we have on GitHub, and people can still use it. And in fact, most people that we expect will run on Akash are going to be running just the vanilla binaries from MASQ without a UI. So they'll be running it from command line.
It's incredible. I think I can see an opportunity here. A big problem today with crypto is, verifiable supply chain, right? I'm talking about even just regular front ends, right? Like, how do you know a Uniswap website is legit? Right? There's a lot of attack points from the front end that are not being addressed. And actually, this is a big problem that we've been talking about. We, in the sense, our friends at RV, Sam Williams, and a bunch of others that you know, host front ends and whatnot, right? So, I think one way to this is a great opportunity where if you can integrate somehow, uh, all the way from code creation, be it like Utopia to like Radical, some of these new projects where they where they are the first touch points for developers, the creators and the builders of the platform, all the way to Akash, which is the deployment, right? So you can imagine a scenario where a build on Radical or Utopia gets deployed, a verified build, right? Verified that the developer is legit. They write the code that gets on chain, on Akash deployment that is verifiable, and that can go into a deployment, which is also verifiable. So now you can essentially create the entire verifiable supply chain and have the guarantees that what you're running in terms of code is actually legit. And also, if you're a browser, I think you can go one step further and add that verifiability, add a warning, right in front. If you're not fully sure, you can even give them option to completely run the infrastructure yourself, right? So, for me, like if I don't trust that Uniswap Labs or whatever, because there are lots of DNS attacks, right? We've seen quite, I would say majority of the hacks for the front end standpoint have been at DNS attack vectors, right? Because DNS, again, is secured by these centralized companies like GoDaddy, which is easily attacked by clever social engineering and happens a lot, right? So somehow, if we can solve the problem of like, if you don't trust this like website, run your own website, run your own sort of like deployment on Akash that's fully verifiable all the way from source code and have those guarantees back to people. And that also gives you also aligns really well, I think, with just privacy MASQ is guaranteeing. Another problem is we saw with these wallets, right? With the Solana wallets, forgot the name. I did this analysis where we found out that they were sending private keys, mnemonic keys, from your from your device back to the server, not intentionally, but using an analytics software, right? Forgot the name. It was by accident they're actually sending this mnemonic keys because they're logging as a developer, you log things. That's the kind of dumb shit that we don't want to see, right? So unless you have sovereign runtime, that guarantees that no logs are being shipped, all the logs are local. There's no information that's leaving your device that, you don't want to see. Only interaction that happens from the devices to the RPC server, which should be also fully sovereign. I think is incredibly powerful and incredible opportunity for us to solve together.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll just jump in. I've been looking at a project for a while. You might really like this. It might interest you, Greg. I'll send you a link in DM. If you've heard of Mallows, they've actually looked at an approach where they're minting an NFT that is a provable version of a front end. And so if you deploy that as a website, as a dApp, it would have versionable front ends. And you can look at it to see if it's got the right smart contracts in the background, and it's like verifiable. And then if they did an upgrade, they mint a new NFT and say this is version 1.2, and it's all verifiable, open. It was actually a really cool idea, and it's something I've been looking at too.
Sounds cool. I mean, I don't understand the NFT angle, but verifiable front ends is definitely cool. But yeah, happy to take a look at it. So the cost, the token unlock questions now. Source of FUD, let's address it. The first question is, how many tokens are being unlocked? So I think it's 20 million tokens are being unlocked on September 25th. It's coming up in 10 days. And out of that, I think 8.6 million tokens are not in Team's control, in the sense that these are essentially investors or essentially seed investors that are unlocking. We are pretty confident that nobody's selling in this market. So the sale price for Akash seed was 15 cents. So right now Akash is trading at 30 cents. So I mean, still it's double, but nobody is actually like people that we think are investors are not going to settle for a 2x price, right? And I think um, some of them, there's indication that some of them may have exited during a bull market from the awards. So I think like uh, people we've been talking to all seem to be holding. I mean, so we're not expecting any sell action. I think we're hopefully we hit the bottom again. This is not in my control, so I can't really say anything. So who are some of these investors? So again, we raised this capital in 2018 um, from when the capital was very, very hard to raise. And so we raised quite a lot from the ecosystem itself, not big VCs. Some of the bigger investors in Akash are Dokia Capital, Outpost Capital, Cipher Capital, SNZ, Huobi Pool. I don't think any of those guys are selling. We looked at the wallets. Kava Labs is another one. Kava obviously is a big validator. The reason why they have a huge delegation is because they haven't sold their tokens. They've been investing and they've been staking from day one. And they also recently announced that they're using some of their AKT to to encourage their validators to deploy on Akash. So they're one of those class of investors where they also happen to be big users of Akash. So pretty confident. Sunny Agarwal, Sika, who's founder of Osmosis, is a huge Akash holder. Osmosis, for those of you who don't know, was bootstrapped using AKT Sunny holds. So yeah, the pool number 3 and pool number 4, that means the first pools that are not Osmo pools were AKT pools. And the reason for that is because, Sunny personally holds a ton of Akash. Jack Zampolin, that we all know and love, holds a ton of Akash. So his validator, if you look at his account, you'll be able to see. So these are some of the validators that some of the investors that Akash raised from in 2018 to 2020 timeframe. Um, and this is a bear market. I think I mean, I think selling tokens is the last thing on people's mind. And most of the investors, if they're smart, are acquiring tokens, right? So we really don't think there's going to be a lot of selection. But again, this is markets I have no control over. But good thing is this is the last unlock for investors. There is no more unlock for investors. There's one more unlock in general, and that's all team tokens, because team unlocked at the end. So after in 10 days we can put the unlock FUD behind us and move on. Whatever happens on that day, and move on, right? So if any selection happens, let it happen in a bear market, because when the bull market comes, we don't have any of this FUD. It's going to be pure, fully unlocked, fully vested token supply, and the real price, is what the fully unlocked token supply is. So hopefully that answers lots of questions. And what is Overclock Labs policy on unlocked tokens? We don't have a policy. I mean, um, you know, there's very little liquidity in the market. So we're seeing some OTC deals that we're trying to facilitate for people that want to sell, but nobody came forward asking us to buy the tokens. We will generally buy back any tokens. I mean, 30 cents, I think, is ridiculously low, right? So we're here for long term. We're not going anywhere. So for us, we're trying to acquire as many tokens as we can. So any good deals from investors that want to offload, we'll actually buy them back. We did quite a lot in the last unlock happened, but unfortunately FUD took over. Most of the sales did not come from investors. Most of the sales actually came from public. So because of the FUD last time. And I think, there are people that genuinely want to see Akash fail, and they're going to continue FUDing, right? So, uh, we can choose to respond to the FUD, or we can choose to keep building, but we chose to keep building. Sometimes people come piss me off, and I respond to them on my own thread, but I'm starting to do less and less of that because it's just not worth my time. Anyway, so our policy is like we'll buy back if any tokens, if any investors want to sell. And we're actively engaging, and we're actively finding other investors that want to buy them, right? So we'll facilitate a OTC transaction if need be, so that we can keep these tokens off market.
Arnold, thank you so much for stopping by again. It's great to see you. Go ahead with your question, and then guys, we'll begin wrapping up.
Thank you, Nadia, and thank you everyone. It's lovely to be with you once again. Firstly, I'd like to say just how bursting with excitement I am as to Akash's potentiality. I say this from an obvious macro perspective, because if you just look at the function that Akash provides and what it's doing for the world right now and what the major players are doing, that in itself is tremendous potentiality. The second thing which I'd say from my perspective, as someone who's been designing and building companies for many years, is that Akash as a primitive creates some absolutely mind-blowing potentials for systems and business models. And I am just completely brimming with excitement with regard to that. But just to focus on what's been spoken about in this session, I've been really overjoyed with the focus that there's been on both the usability, both from the perspective of the user, but also from the perspective of engineers. I've just over the last week executed a prototype deployment on both using Prata and also the Akash documentation. And I'd say that the documentation was good. What I wanted to get at is, given how massive the potentiality is for Akash, perhaps documentation, could be seen actually as a value center. And I was really happy to hear about the technical classes that are going on. But kind of there's a possibility of taking that even further and really going, in deep in documentation and knowledge sharing and knowledge management, to the extent of even where you're dealing with the military audit, rather than just setting that as something which, someone is subjected to. Akash could actually create a system for training and educating people and getting them up to the level. So it's opening up as wide as possible. Is that something which you've been thinking about, Greg, in terms of using documentation, knowledge sharing, and knowledge management as a real center of value creation, especially as Akash is going to do so many new things that helping people to understand it is going to be critical?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so documentation, what we have is not even close to what we want. And there's a whole, we're developing we develop a portal that's going to replace the documentation side. Our documentation is very limited. It's decent, but it's not great. For me, a great documentation site is not, gives you the manual, the instructions and whatnot, but also it gives you the guides and education, walks you through a lot of scenarios, right? So, it's a constant battle, right? It's just that we have, enormous amounts of work. We're cleaning up a lot. Actually, we're also hiring a full-time documentation person, a technical that'll, hopefully boost our efforts. But yes, it's a priority for us, and we're actually going to announce something soon at Messari Mainnet, which will take documentation to the next step. So keep an eye out. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but
Great.
A lot of work. But if you feel like you can contribute in any way, that you have ideas, please reach out to me. I think we have
I have a ton, Greg. To be honest, I'm bursting with them, but probably I'll save them for a more discursive format. But I look forward to getting into them. As I say, I'm all in on this.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
All right. With that, we have, we're over time. We have one more question. Marie, we can get you in, but make it a very quick question, please. Thank you for stopping by. Super quick question. We're just about to wrap up. Let's see as your connection goes through.
Hi. No, I actually don't have any questions. I just really like to be a speaker in any space that I'm in, just in case I have a question or something to say. So I always request. But it's good to see you guys, and I'm just here to listen and learn.
Oh, awesome. We're so glad to have you. Happy you stopped on in. We'll see you next week then. All right, with that, guys, thanks so much to Greg and KauriHero for joining us on Spaces today. And a huge thank you to all of you for joining today or listening to this later. Before we get together next time, Kauri, where can everyone go to learn more about MASQ and the MASQ and Akash partnership?
Oh, yes. First of all, Discord is a great place to engage with all of our team, including the developers, and get chances at trying out the beta app. So you can go to discord.gg/mask. Also check out our website, mask.ai. We do have a Telegram, mask_AI, and also on Twitter, mask_AI as well. And we're all pretty friendly, so feel free to come on in, say you're from the Akash community, want to learn more, and we'll have you taken care of. So look forward to seeing you all, and thanks for all of your guys' time having me on today. Hopefully I didn't talk your ear off on my coffee buzz.
No, never. Thank you so much for stopping by. We so appreciate it. Join us next week, Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific, for our next Akash Weekly Spaces with Greg. Tap that set reminder button as soon as we post it. Don't forget to deploy on Akash. Check out our documentation at docs.akash.network. Head to our Discord group for a little bit more support. Or if you want to watch how to walk through a deployment, Technical Program Manager Alani Kuye walks you through your first deployment on our YouTube channel. Also, check out akash.network/community and find out how you can spread the word about Akash and help this project grow by becoming an Akash Insider. Thank you so much for joining today's event. Thanks again to Greg and Kauri for spending time with us. See you next Wednesday with Greg at 8 a.m. Pacific. Bye, everyone.